We're at the Phoenix Park. It's Sunday. The headliners are Snow Patrol. In amongst that is the phenomenon. It's not just Bressie, a person. It is a kind of a whirlwind of a phenomenon. I'm sure you're sick of that, are you? Come on, give me comments on that.
I've never heard that one yet. That's the first. I'm not sure it's flattering, but coming from you, it is.
But no, congratulations on Colorblind Stereo, and particularly Breaking My Fall is the single we've been playing a lot on 2FM. And I've read before that, you know, pop is in your blood. You're into pop music, and you don't feel ashamed of that or anything like that. No. There's no problem with that. And so, what was it like moving from the Blizzards? Because before The Voice, you know, you were working as a serious musician and still are. So the transition from the Blizzards, which was quite a rocky thing, to what you're doing now, how did that come about?
Well, at the core of the Blizzards was melody, and people have to understand melody is melody, whether it's in pop, rock, synth, whatever genre of music. Melody is, you can't deny it, and I think that's what I'm a fan of more than anything. I love anything from classical to rock, and even bands like ABBA, people kind of laugh at them. I'm like, listen, have you ever heard melodies written like that? I love melody. And I think what I wanted to do was a massive amount of my influences from the 80s and bands like Erasure and Pet Shop Boys and just synth pop bands who you know, it became, I suppose there was a period where hooks and choruses, people became allergic to them or something. It's almost offensive to write them. And I'm like, but that's what a really good, to me, for me personally, and a really good song has to have a chorus. It can't just go on for 12 minutes. That doesn't interest me. So that's what Colorblind Story was. I wore my influences on my sleeve, and I wanted to make a synth pop record. I've always wanted to. But, you know, I'm now in the middle of writing a second record, and that's nothing like Colorblind Stereo. So it's good not to have that, I suppose, thing on your shoulder saying you have to do another synth pop album.
So it's just like that old adage, either music is good or it's bad. It's as simple as that. Like Metallica, for instance, they write songs like Enter Sandman, The Unforgiven. They're pop songs, really, that if you gave them to steps and put them in a different way, they could sound fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing. My biggest word of advice as a musician was given to me by my brother, who's a brilliant musician, and he was like jazz pianist, he's producer, he lives in Glasgow, and I've always looked up to him. And he said, if my one word of advice to you as a writer or even a fan of music is don't be a musical snob, because you won't learn anything from one genre. You won't learn it. You won't learn what you need to know from just one genre. You have to spread it out. You have to listen to bands and take the good from everything. And that's what I tried to do. And I got a lot more into vocalists then. And I never listened to jazz music. I never listened to jazz vocalists. Even the big band Sinatra era. It never interested me. Now I can't get enough of it because I start respect. I can't appreciate so much of what an incredible vocalist these people are. And so yeah, I think that's the thing. Just embrace all genres and try and find something in everything.
It's a lesson I should have learned in my own musical career a little bit earlier on, but I was too naive for that, and now this is what I'm doing, interviewing big stars like yourself. But when I was just reading up some stuff about you earlier on, I didn't realise you had a degree in commerce. Obviously, we know you've got the Voice thing happened, the big TV thing, and it kind of became much more phenomenal than I thought you could have ever imagined. And you're a musician as well. Because of this, at this moment in time, you know, where do you see this all going? Because for me, I was thinking, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I honestly, the one thing I've learned as well is the industry has, since even the Blizzard started, and from when you were in Curb Dog, you probably understand it's gone beyond 360. It's changed to an unrecognisable industry, and what all I want.
It's a monster that's completely out of control, and nobody knows where it's going.
We don't know where it is. Nobody knows. It's now come to the place where things like the Kardashians and stuff like that's where the power is. And music, I think music's been undervalued now. I think people can get it for free. They can get it anywhere they want. And we've been approached I remember we were approached from a massive multinational company to ask them, would we do a gig? And we can't cover your costs. And I said, well, that shows you how much you value what music is and how long it took me to pick up a guitar and figure out how to play it, and how I figure a piano and how to figure out how to sing and all these kind of things, and getting into a sweaty rehearsal room and learning your trade. So I think music can be undervalued, and it's an amazing thing to be part of. But the one thing, I've had to find different avenues to sustain myself. The Blizzards had to break up because...
purely in a financial way, of course, as well.
Two of the guys had children. They couldn't raise the children on what we were making. It wasn't stable, and I remember sitting in the room with them, and we were really, really emotional. He was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, you got to go and figure out something, because they're both intelligent guys. So they've opened up a very successous business in Mullingar, and they're doing really well, and they're bringing up their kids. And I, on the other hand, had to go, what am I going to do? I have to figure out, I just signed publishing to Universal, so I said, right, I'm being put in the songwriting bracket for pop music, so that's what I started with. The Voice thing happened kind of out of nowhere, really. I was kind of approached by it, and I was like, I looked into the format. I watched it in America. I watched the Dutch one, and I was like, sat down with the producers. I said, "Am I going to be made say stuff I don't want to say and do for television?" They were no. I was like, right, I'm in. That was it.
Because you do strike me as a guy. You know, I've met you in the past, and who working with the Blizzards, and you do have a soul, and you seem like. I'm actually quite a shy bloke behind, you know, all the showbiz. I'd imagine you like time on your own, and TV is a very strange medium. How did you find that whole experience of television, and would you like to do more of it in the future? I assume production companies are banging your door down.
I don't know. I think I would like to do television again on my terms and stuff. The reason I liked what I was doing is I wasn't made dumb down my advice to singers. I've been watching these reality shows and I've been like, you can't just tell a singer they're not good enough. You got to ask them why they're not good enough. Like I've been told hundreds of times, and I've never sold myself as a really, really good singer. But I know what vocals is. I know, like, I've been in studio for 3 years learning vocal production. That's what I'm into. The little tiny things that make singers better. So I sat there and I wanted to bring that to the show. But like in terms of other television stuff, one thing I did find about TV, and I'm probably killed for this, is it's a hell of a lot easier than the music industry. Like I was just sitting in a big red chair every Sunday, just giving advice. And I loved it, and it was really, really fresh for me. It was something different, and I trust the producers. They didn't lie to me once, and that was a great thing to have, to trust the crew and the producers, and loved it.
Well, obviously you didn't come out bad of it, because Bressie was you know a lot of people have said that you were the winner of the show ultimately, and all this kind of stuff in terms of in a kind of a cynical media way. But there must have been a lighter side. Like when you were in the Blizzards, you were the singer of the Blizzards. You'd had a certain fan base. On this juggernaut of a television program, surely, like if you were walking down the high street of Carrick-on-Shore on a Saturday afternoon, that was a bit weird.
Yeah, that's the one thing I found the most difficult to deal with. Not that I'm shy about it, I didn't figure out how to deal with it. And it wasn't something I thought, like, it could happen either way. You could have been perceived as someone nobody liked. It's like, oh, you know, he's talking crap, and you don't know what people will think of you. And it was a really positive experience for the perception and the reaction towards me. And a lot of people at start were like, I haven't a clue who you are, don't know who you are. And I'm like, that's fair enough, but at least give me a chance. And they all did. And I think towards the end, people who were saying that were like, well, you're there for a reason. You are passionate about who you're trying to get. And I was so passionate that Pat, Connor, one of those type of singers, won the competition, because it was very good for the show. Because they're singers. You know, they're not big diva singers who you kind of go, well, where are we going to go with this? You know where you can go with Pat. You know where you can go with someone like Connor. And I was in studio with Pat for the last 3 weeks. I'm now going in studio with Connor next week.
And what is the rush for somebody, for 99.9% recurring of us people, would never experience that kind of sort of hysteria? This may be of a short-lived thing for you with the voice. What is that hysteria like for you as a person when you're walking down the street and all these girls are shouting and screaming at you? Is it pleasant or unpleasant, or how do you feel about it?
It's very flattering. It's great, and it's been great for me. Like, and at the end of the day, I've never denied. It's been very good for my career. I needed it. I needed to figure out, I want to make another record, and I want to make another record and another record. Because the more records you make, the better you get at it, and the more you learn about making records. And unfortunately, in the industry we're in, if you don't come up with what, I suppose, the goods for the label in terms of the album and in terms of working it and selling it, they will drop you, and you won't make another record unless you want to spend your own money, which is a huge risk. So these are great things for me. But in terms of the reaction towards me in the street, it did take a while, and I was quite intimidated by it at the start, and I think I figured it out then, and you realised it wasn't a negative thing at all. So I kind of copped on. But I live in London 50% of the time, so nobody knows me from Adam, which is great.
So I was getting to London. So you live in London. I've lived in London myself, being in a band as well, but you're on your own, and I found even London being in a band, it's a very big city, and it can be a very isolating experience. What's it like for you?
London is every man for himself, Darwinism. It's the survival of the fittest, and I don't like it. I don't like that side of, you know, some people. I've warmed to it to a point. I've learned a lot. I've worked with people that have taught me a lot that I probably wouldn't have got to work with here, because I suppose it's just a bigger industry in terms of studios and other writers. And in Ireland, there's not an environment for co-writing here, which is, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but bands don't really co-write. They don't bring other people in and go, you know, what can you bring to the table? And I like that about London, because you could be in with a rapper on a Monday, and you could be in with a soul singer on a Tuesday, and then a pop singer on a Wednesday. And I love that diversity to what I do, because it makes me listen. If I know I'm going in with a soul singer, I'll go back and I'll listen to all these soul records, and I'll figure out why are they so good, what makes the melody so simple and good in them. And I love that, because you learn so much. But as a city, I could never live there. I could never bring kids up there. I could never settle there. Definitely not.
And like you do find that London is in terms of the music business, it's an incredibly aggressive place, and the people involved are really quite aggressive people.
They are, and the thing about it is, what I had to learn very quickly with the London, especially I suppose the A&R network there is, you gotta figure out which ones know what they're talking about and which ones are completely clueless.
What's the A&R network?
Well, the A&R would be.
Oh, sorry, A&R. Sorry, A&R.
Like you know the guys, and you go in and you just know these guys. Just read Enemy every Friday, and that's their musical information. And I know straight away when you get feedback from a track, what type of feedback you get, whether you're talking to someone who has a clue. And back in the olden days in America in the 80s and I suppose even in the 90s, these amazing A&R guys who were amazing producers who knew music inside out and could score your track for you and give you. And that's what I think is missing, because that's why we're getting, I suppose, assembly line tracks that really just go and disappear after a couple of weeks, because the kind of foundations behind it, some of the A&R in the UK are brilliant. And I love, when you meet them, because they're so passionate about music and they don't care about hits. They just want to make great records. You see Florence the Machine playing here, her first album. I bet you nobody sat down there and said to her, you need a hit. She just wrote an incredible album which had a concept and had a sound and a direction.
Pretty old school.
Yeah, and organic, and now, unfortunately, it's just like, I can't tell you how many rooms I've sat in and just, what you want? Oh, we just want the hit. I'm like, come on, like that's not constructive feedback. So
that's all they want.
That's all they want. I was like, it's just not that easy. And the minute you sit down to write a hit, you don't write a hit.
No, absolutely not. You mentioned there something about kids. What about have you time for a relationship? Do you want to have kids? Is family life part of anything in the future for you?
I would love to have kids. I absolutely. It's brilliant. I have 2 godchildren and I'm about to become an uncle for the first time, and I think when I'm around them, that you're completely at ease. It's the only time because everything's so nuts, really. When you're around like children and you're just sitting there with them and having a crack, it's such a nice kind of relaxing. So I definitely think I'd like to have kids, and I think I want to get married and settle down, all that kind of thing. But at the moment, I hate using that media answer because it's so boring. But there really isn't any time, and there's no girl who could say, yeah. They
well, you could just have a relationship with her on Twitter, isn't that just the way you think?
Well, that's the new way, isn't it? It's the modern way. But like the thing about it is, you get every girl to say, yeah, it's fine, I know you're busy, and then after about 3 months, it's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, I told you, that's the way it is. So until I suppose I find a little bit more structure to what I'm doing, I think I wouldn't put a girl through it. Okay,
one more question, finally. It's been great talking to you, but 5 years' time, I know that's a silly thing, and it's a song by Noel and the Whale, which makes it even more kind of crass. Where's Bressie going to be in 5 years' time, if you had to call it?
I think hopefully in 5 years' time I will have. I want to be at the point where I have my own studio, and that's when you have your own studio, you can make the call. Do you want to get full time into production and writing and developing artists, or do you want to? You see, what got me back on the road was that I miss being on stage. It's just an experience that you can't explain to people. It's in a massive buzz, and it's something I just couldn't walk away from. My family, my friends said, "Bressie, you were good at that. When you're in the blizzards, you love playing live. People like watching you live. Don't give that side up." But I think it's going to be either or. I love television, and it's easy and it's enjoyable. But I think I'd have to anything I do in television, I'd have to be passionate about the subject matter or what I was doing. I wouldn't be able to do.
So dancing on ice with Bressie is not part of the future.
I'm very passionate about dancing on ice. So potentially, could you imagine 6'6" and this little poor minute dancer girl that I had to dance with? And oh no, I don't think it would work.
Well, we'll see what happens in 5 years' time. Bressie, you're a lovely guy, and I wish you the very best in the future with whatever you're going to do, and have a great gig here tonight. Yeah, take it easy.
Thanks, man.